Hi, this is Matthias with the Fall 2019 EFWA team. In this video, I'm going to quickly run through the CI/CD for the EFRT Web API Webapp project and the EFRT VPS Web API project. Alright, so let's go into the pipelines. And here we're looking at our build pipelines. Let's start with the web app and API. Alright, so what's going on here is we're setting up the pipeline. We're specifying the default agent pool. I have another video that talks about the agents, which I'll link to in the description. Let's move on to the sources. We're getting our sources from the web app and web API repository. We're using the Florida International University connection, which was automatically created through the integration with the GitHub Azure Pipelines app, which I have another video for, which I'll link to in the description. Alright, and we set up the continuous integration trigger here and specify develop and master. So every time the develop or the master branch get committed to, this pipeline is going to be triggered. Alright. So now, basically what this pipeline is doing is it's building the web app and it's building the web API and publishing those artifacts. Alright. So we're going to be going into this project. We're going to be running a .NET build here, and then a .NET publish, and then we're going to go into this project and do a .NET build and publish. Alright. So the way you specify the directory is go here into working directory, say go into effort/effort, alright, and just run build, alright. Then for the API, it's the same thing, except we're going to go into the web API directory and do the build. And this is a predefined variable here. It's set to release, and you'll see that here. Alright, so that just stands for release. Alright, now the publish. For the web app, we're going to go back into the effort directory. Alright, for the web API, we're going to go into the web API directory. Now these arguments, this is important because for the publish, we're actually going to output the artifacts into a file on the remote agent. So that's what this command here does. It outputs the files to the build.artifactstaging directory. Now this is a predefined variable, all right, which is actually set to a directory in the working folder of the agent. So if you go out into one of our servers, here we see the actual home directory for the agent. All the work that's being done is in this folder here. Alright. Now, this is where the work for all of the pipelines is being done. Each pipeline takes its own directory, and whichever pipeline was run first takes number one. The pipeline that was run first in this instance happened to have been the VPS Web API, so that's what you see there. But the second directory here is used for the web app and API. Alright. So you can see we're setting the output to the build artifact staging directory /web app. And that's what we see here. Alright. And then the web API, we're going to output it. First we're going to change this. Then we're going to output it to the web app/API. So we're going to go just one folder further. Alright. So here we see all of this is the DLLs and the root files for the web app. Alright, and everything in this API folder are all the DLLs for the API. Alright. So this is all the code. All the code here is what we need to run the website for staging. Alright, and then this Here we just set the path to the artifacts. We give it a name so we can specify later in the release what artifacts we're picking up. And here we just keep the published location as Azure Pipelines because we're not leaving Azure for this. All right. Now let's take a quick look at the Vps API, which is very, very similar. Right. Here we're just going to get our source, but this time we're going to be in the VPS Web API project. We're going to go into just the EFWA VPS directory, all right, and run a .NET build. Here we're going to run .NET publish, make sure we have that directory specified, and then this output is going to go into the artifact staging directory /API, and that's what we saw previously, but this is actually in one. So that's where this is being done. And you can see in the, I think A stands for artifacts, B stands for like binaries, and S stands for source. So here we see the source for the VPS project. If we go to 2, we see the source for the Webapp and API project. And I think the third, this third one is being used for the Forex data folders. Yeah. So yeah, this is the source for the Forex data folders right there. And as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, and then we have R1, R2, R3, R4. The R stands for release. So all the work for the release pipelines are denoted by the R. And all the work for the build pipelines are just the numbers. All right. So yeah, you can see R1. R1 downloads the Webapp and API artifacts. R2 downloads the Vps Api artifacts. R3, what does R3 do? Vps API. 4, empty, 5. Okay. Anyways. Yeah, I think this is because one of the release pipelines for VPS is for production and one of them's for staging. That's why there's 2 of them. But since the VPS 0 only handles the staging website, so that's why there's only one release for the Webapp and API. Anyways, let's move on from that. And here we just publish those artifacts, specify the directory, give it a name, Azure Pipelines. So that's it for the builds. Now let's go into the release. All right. So everything here is the same as what's here. It's just easier to see what's going on in the folder view. So let's look at the website first. So this is what the release pipeline looks like, right? The first thing we have to do is add the artifacts, all right? So that's what's going on right here, all right? We have to specify the build pipeline, that's the source of this release, which is the publish Webapp and API, and the alias, which is what we named. We created this alias in the build, all right? And we set that there. And then this little button here, this is for the continuous deployment. So we make sure that's enabled and specify that this is to be triggered from the develop branch because we're on staging. All right. And then let's go into the tasks and see what's going on. So the first thing is we want to make sure that we specify which agent to run on. Now, since this is the staging website, we need to make sure that the work is being done on VPS 0. So here we're specifying the environment should be staging. And another variable we could use is say server equals VPS 0. All right, both of those would work. All right. So here, the first task is we're stopping the website that's currently running. Alright, so this PowerShell command script, it imports this module, web administration, which allows us to interact with the IIS that's running on the server. We're going to stop the default website and then start effort online. So let's take an actual look at what's going on there. So if we were to physically, manually do it, what we'd be doing is go over here to the default website, and click on that. We'd click stop right there, and then we'd go on the offline and click start. All right. Now, offline doesn't actually have any code. There's nothing actually that's being run there. And the default website you can see is here. All right. So the next step is to clear the application files. All right. So this step is clearing all of this out. It's taking all of it and deleting. All right. And it looks more complicated than it is because there are some complications that sometimes happen. One of them took a while to figure out, but basically before the deployment was failing almost half the time because some of these files couldn't be deleted because they were locked by IIS. Like IIS had holds on some of the DLLs. And I found out that if you delete this web.config file first, then all the holds on these are released, and then you can delete everything. So that's what's happening first here. And then sometimes right after deleting the .config, it's not enough time, and when you try to remove the rest of the files, it's still stuck on the hold. So that's why I have it in a while loop. And then if it fails the first time, it tries again. If it fails the second time, it'll try again. And then it should eventually successfully remove all the files. All right? And that's what's happening here. We're remove item, force, recurse, because we're dealing with directories. Error action stop is just saying if an error happens, just stop, and it'll be caught by this. All right. And then leave a message, successfully removed files, and if not, try again. All right, that's all that's going on there. Now the next step, since we just removed all the website files, is to download the new files. So here, we choose the artifacts, which are the Webapp and API artifacts that are downloaded onto the remote agent. We match it. This is just saying everything that's in this directory, copy, and then paste it to this destination directory, which is the application path. That's a variable that I defined, and you can see it here. All right. Now, the last step is to actually start the website again. So we just go back to IIS, click default website, and click start. And that's it for the website. Now for the production website, it's essentially the same. The only difference is we're triggering from master instead of develop. All right. But in terms of the tasks, it's all the same. Yeah. All right. Now let's look at the Vps Api Release, which is also basically the same. All right. Here we're on staging, so we specified the develop branch, and our tasks are: we stop the default website, we clear all the current API files, but these are the API files, so we're removing all the files from the VPS pre-production folder. All right, so we've been working in this folder, but now we're working in these two. This one for develop and this one for master. All right, and we're going to delete all these and repopulate it with the new artifacts. All right. Cool. I think I covered everything having to do with the web app and API and the Vps API. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I will be more than willing and happy to help you along. But for now, I'll see you in the next video.